BDS Marketing presents The Hype Hour with your host, Andrew Catapano and Kelly Campbell, featuring special guests, Sean Ludick, Chris Brandewie, and Jennifer Fisher Finnegan. Today's topic, contactless shopping. Let's get started. Here are your hosts.
Hello. How the heck are you, Kelly?
I'm good.
It is so good to see you. Switched it up on me today. Went with the headband today, huh?
I know. Headbands count as a hat, maybe? I don't know.
We're going with it. Absolutely. It looks great. I couldn't pull it off, but you do a great job with it.
Well, thank you.
Always the shiplap, though, as your co-host out there in Southern California.
Still here. We still got it going on. I'm excited. Some of our guests also have shiplap today, so we're starting a trend here.
That's what they tell me. How have you been, Kelly? You've been doing okay? How are you making it through the new normal?
Yeah, I know. It's actually very exciting. I went shopping for the first
time. How relevant to today's topic, Kelly?
Right? Very relevant to today's topic. Very excited. But really, I went shopping for the first time. I love home goods. So I'm not going to lie. I totally stole a visit there. And I was very excited to do it. It's one of my personal happy places. But it was very different. So I'm excited to talk a little bit more about today and what this all looks like now that we've been in it for a while.
What isn't different today? We had a fantastic leadership meeting yesterday run by our leadership team, and our leaders kicked off the meeting with, there is nothing normal. There is nothing the same. Yeah. If you are not ready to pivot, if you are not ready to move, if you are not ready to adapt, you will be left behind. And it was a strong way to start off our leadership meeting. And we were all reminded quickly that the old way of doing business is out the door. And there is no the same anymore. But with that, we've got some great topics today. We got a great topic today, don't we?
We do. We're really excited about today's topic. It's all about contactless shopping and reimagining the display experience. What does the aisle really look like today? It looks very different than it did even 3-4 short months ago, after all of this has happened. So we're excited to dive into more of a futuristic approach today. And then we have some amazing guests on board. So excited to talk with Sean. He's coming back to bring us an update on sort of the state of the aisle and what things are looking like now. We're so excited about that. And then we've got Chris Brandewie, VP of Strategy and Design at Outform. He's going to bring all of his great thoughts and ideas on what they're doing at retail. So can't wait to have him talk with us. And then also Jennifer Fisher Finnegan, who is central to BDS and what we do. So we're really excited to have her on board and
JFF in the house, as she's lovingly called at BDS. Love her. She's got a great personality.
We're really
I always
excited.
love talking with her and spending time with her. Kelly, before we get buzzed right into it, tell us a little about what the Hype Hour is about, what we are doing here, and then I'll tell people to buy the wonderful hats. Not just because I love my Yankees. There is a story behind it. But tell us what the Hype Hour is all about.
Yeah, so this is our monthly live stream event where we discuss relevant topics, answer some interesting and sometimes difficult questions, and brainstorm some really creative and digital-first solutions for today's biggest retail challenges. So remember, if you do have a question and you want to share it or ask it anytime throughout the stream, feel free to put it in the comments and we'll bring it up as we go along. And then if you need to hop off at any time whatsoever, we'll be following up with a recording afterwards. So you won't miss anything.
Nobody's leaving. It is too riveting and too exciting.
I'm excited.
And as you talked about, Kelly, we've got some great topics today. Wow. Why the hats? Yes, I love my Yankees. Yes, born and raised in Long Island. But we are born of COVID, so we keep the hats going. Kelly, I will take it off for a second. I still have not gotten a haircut.
Oh,
This is still Andrew. That is still happening. So we're still going to get the. I do have the 2-year-old at home, so we are on alert to bringing anything at home. So still not yet. My wife said she was going to shoot a YouTube video of cutting your husband's hair. I said we are going to put a pause on that, but we're going to keep doing the hats as we move forward, as an homage and as a memory to where we started. And I love the headband. It counts. That's okay. It counts.
You know, the headband, I kind of feel like I used to wear headbands like back in the 90s, loved them to death and kind of got a little over them. And I thought, you know what the heck? There's no better time to do it right now. So here comes.
Fantastic. I love it. Nice addition.
Yes.
Let's buzz right into it. What the current state of the aisle looks like is what we're going to get into.
Yeah.
Imagining how displays can be redesigned to provide an unassisted yet engaging experience, and what brands can do now to revive displays and plan for the future of contactless shopping.
Yeah.
Kelly, as they reopen, retailers are going to have to balance the competing and possibly conflicting challenges of creating a compelling experience for their consumers.
Yeah.
Keeping consumers and employees safe, getting through the volume that stores have to go through in order to keep the items stocked, the shelf stocked. It's going to be a challenge, right? Yeah. We know that.
Yeah.
We also know that an engaging experience, one that is memorable, one that inspires use, and one that inspires shopping is going to be as important today as it was when we knew experiential was going to be the key driver in 2020. That hasn't gone away, right?
Yeah.
So how are we going to adapt to that? How are we going to keep consumers engaged? How are we going to make this balance in between safety and experience? How are we going to create these memorable moments? And how are we going to adapt to the future of what is the nueve normal, right?
Yeah, so, exactly. Very exciting.
And you had an experience, right? We're not going to talk about that experience now, or we're going to talk about it later?
Yeah, well, we can talk about it now. I've, like I mentioned, I've been back shopping for a little bit, not only for my own sanity, but also just to see how the experience is now today. So I know that I've gone to Starbucks. I'm a big fan. I'm sure a lot of other people are big fans as well. But really, it got me thinking, there's all this space now that we had in these stores, and now this is the perfect opportunity to reimagine what that looks like. Even just waiting in line at a Starbucks, there really isn't any need to stay there right now. So how did these retail spaces get reimagined for today's consumer and even today's needs? And that has pivoted so very quickly. Of course, we got to catch up now with some of these things. So I think I'm personally really excited to talk through this topic today, especially even on the consumer side of things. I'm seeing it firsthand and seeing that there are so many great opportunities.
Luckily, we have some fantastic subject matter experts to help through it. And the first man up, the Fauci to my Trump, the Sanjay Gupta to my Cooper, and the Bert to my Ernie. The guy who gives me the facts, keeps us straight, and level sets us all on what we should see nationally and globally and what the data is telling us. Bring in Mr. Sean Ludick.
Awesome. We're so excited to have him on. There he is. Very excited.
Mr. Ludick, you are officially in a green room, apparently, with the wall behind you.
There you are, Sean.
As green as it comes.
That's awesome.
We still have him? We still got Sean.
We might have lost him. That always
Sean?
Happens on live streaming.
That's what happens. Authentic content on live streaming, that's what happens. We may have to get back to Dr. Fauci, but that's okay. We will boot him back up, and we're going to pivot because that's what happens in live streaming, and these things happen. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to go to the second person, in America who is going to do a live streaming with Shiplap. Our first is Kelly. Our second is Chris Brandewie. Kelly, tell us a little about Chris Brandewie. We're going to get him out of order. We're going to get Sean back. That's all right. But we're going to go right to Chris.
Yeah.
Who do we got?
Well, so Chris, we're so excited to have him on board. He's the VP of Strategy and Design at Outform. And even though he's a recent newcomer to Outform, he's actually a retail industry veteran with a career spanning nearly 30 years. And most recently, he was the head of store design for U.S. retail giant Best Buy. And he was responsible for the concept creation for 1,400 stores. He has held adjunct professor positions. So we've got a professor on board.
Oh boy.
The Ohio State University and the University of Minnesota. And
Go Buckeyes!
Member, you got it. And he's been a faculty member of the Path to Purchase Institute. So very excited to have him on board to talk with us. So
get him in here. John, bring him in. He's out of order. All different kind of ways. But here he is in our studio. Welcome, Chris. Great to have you. I love the Outform brand. I know you're new to the brand. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Glad to have you. I got a comment on the shiplap behind you. It's fantastic. Do you get your design ideas from Kelly, or is that all on your own?
No, it's clearly, Kelly and I just met a few days ago, and I immediately installed the shiplap in my office just because I was so inspired by it. So,
Chris,
he added a little bit of flair. He's got the action figures, which I
got to ask. I didn't notice those in the live stream prep. What's going on back there, Chris?
Well, I am probably one of the biggest nerds you'd ever meet. So I grew up reading comic books. Actually, comic books is what got me into art. Art got me into design. Design got me into retail. So the only reason I'm actually here is because of those superheroes. So
that's awesome.
That's a fantastic story. Chris, let's buzz right into it. How have you had to adjust as a team and shift your thinking around display designs since COVID happened? By the way, I love the Outform brand. I love everything about it. So go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, great. Good. I do too. So we obviously, just like everybody else, we've had to make a pretty substantial shift in mindset to really start to address some of these concerns that we're seeing from shoppers in general. Obviously, Outform is all about the experiences in store. So how do we go from creating experiences that are tangible, interactable, tactile, to creating experiences that eliminate that touch aspect? So we've spent a lot of time in the past couple months of really examining that and really looking at how can we leverage our knowledge in technology, leverage our knowledge in retail behaviors, and come up with some really solid hands-free solutions, such as gesture control, voice control, or things like QR codes. So we're exploring all of those avenues right now.
Well, again, I don't want you to share too much, intellectual property of Outform, and I know there's things that are protected and things that you can share. So share what you can, but what will the aisle look like 6 months from now? And then what will the future of displays, I think, in your opinion, and again, you can share what you want, what you're currently doing, or you can just share strategically what you're thinking, but tell me a little bit about that. You got your finger on the pulse, man, so you're going to be able to tell us, be my weatherman, predict the future, all right? Tell me what's going to happen.
So it's about as predictable as the weather at this point. 6 months from now, quite frankly, we don't know what the condition with COVID will be. But obviously, there's a lot of pent-up desire to get back in the stores. I mean, we saw the results come out yesterday with regards to the uptick in retail for May. Almost 18% increase in retail sales. It's fantastic. It shows us that people want to get back to the stores. Obviously, that's going to come with some conditions. And from my standpoint, like I said, the whole idea of getting into more of the touch-free, more of the voice command, realistically, what's happened over the last few months equaled roughly 5 years of retail evolution.
Wow.
We've pushed ourselves, and in general, retail in general have to push itself to really embrace these massive seismic shifts and embrace some of the things that we wouldn't necessarily have gone after before. I mean, a good example is when the SARS outbreak happened back in 2002, 2004, I believe it was. Some of the most amazing retail innovation came out of that time. And through the diversity or through the conditions that we're in now, we'll see similar innovations happening. These are the kinds of times that drive the biggest jumps forward from a retail standpoint. To that end, the hands-free piece will be a complete change in how we look at manufacturing. We're even looking at things like how do we actually incorporate antimicrobial materials into the materials we're using to manufacture the displays.
Wow.
So as time progresses, we will see less and less reliance on tactile interfaces and more moving towards the other ways of interacting. again, like I said, QR codes are something that we're really actively looking at integrating into more and more of our displays. And that was something that I posted a thing on LinkedIn yesterday. One of our strategic little snippets that we do on a weekly basis was talking about QR codes. 5 years ago, if somebody would have told me that we'd be pushing QR codes now, I would have laughed. There's no way people wouldn't accept it.
We thought they were
now. Yeah, exactly. But having the ability to actually take control of displays, take control of content through your own personal device, that's going to be the way to go.
I think that it raises a good point on the QR code. The single, I mean, I don't think this is a secret, maybe some, but the fact that the latest update, or maybe it was the one right before this, made the QR code scanner native to the iPhone. I mean, that really is what did it, right? I mean, without that, you got to download the app, you got to scan it. But just having it native to the camera app, that created the game changer, and that brought the QR code back. Yes?
Very much so. I mean, that facilitated everything that's happening right now as a result of the necessity that we're seeing from COVID.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to touch on this at the end because it's kind of some of our wrap-up stuff, but you've already brought up the mobile device, and you've already brought the interaction in which, we're holding basically one of the most innovative pieces of technology we may ever see in my lifetime. But, and we have the ability to connect with that and use that as part of our shopping experience more so than ever before. I believe QR codes are just the tip of that iceberg. But as you're going and developing stuff from an Outform perspective, and from a design and a manufacturing and an infrastructure, are you doing more speech recognition? Are you doing more hand gesture recognition? Are you doing more like what do you expect the future of display? More of a gesture, more of a speaking, a hybrid, or is there a leaning one way or another?
I think it's going to be more of a hybrid, because one of the things that we're really trying to think about as we're developing these parts and pieces is really think about the logical progression of a shopper's journey. Historically, when you go into a store and you interact with the display, we've been forced to add in a relatively unnatural gesture. So if I want to learn more about this mouse, I want to pick the mouse up. I want to look at it. I want to deal with it, right? Or do we have to go in and actually press a button to understand what this thing is doing? While we're not going to be necessarily picking it up as much, the whole idea of getting away from pressing buttons and actually like adding another gesture into the entire shopping process is something that we have a lot of passion around to really figure out how is that going to work. So looking at both gesture and voice, I mean, honestly, these are ways we communicate face-to-face. These are ways we communicate on video like this. Why shouldn't we be communicating with our in-store displays in a similar way?
Yeah. I was actually, and it's appropriate somewhere in the hat, and because I was born and raised there, but I was able to look at a little bit more of the innovations that Walmart is doing in Levittown, Long Island. I want to go visit it, but there is a particular Walmart in Levittown that is doing tremendous things with AI. It has cameras everywhere. It has displays I mean, it's supposed to be one of the most innovative shopping experiences, at least from that perspective. And I want to go experience it myself. I've not been back home in order to do that. But I know AI is going to take over for some perspective of understanding the shopping experience. We know that we're going to have to innovate on some of the display side from a gesture, speak standpoint and customer. But I can't let you off the hook. You're going to have to give me really what is Outform doing. Give us a peek behind the curtain, a little bit of a look-see, sir. All right. Give me some of the cool stuff that you can tell me that you guys are working on.
So it's a number of things that we're dealing with right now. We have a launch coming up the next few weeks of an entire infrastructure system that becomes a basis for creating larger and more engaging displays. We call it the interactive collection. So it's focusing on, as we were saying, the whole idea of combining voice, gesture, QR, as well as lift and learn and place and learn scenarios all through one system. So it allows our shoppers or our vendors or our customers to actually create, using these things almost as Lego blocks, to create their own experiences from there. So we're launching that within the next few weeks, as a matter of fact.
Awesome.
And we also, just from the standpoint of shopper reassurance, we launched a product called the Itis Thermometer about a month ago, which is a freestanding thermal scanner, which basically can integrate into stores' existing door systems or security systems and eliminates the need for stores to actually have an employee standing out front with a thermometer gun and taking people's temperatures. This product will actually allow people to walk up to it, and within 2 seconds, you get a temperature read to say whether or not they have symptoms of COVID or not. So again, it's a multi-layer thing where we're trying to make sure we're reassuring customers on every possible touch point and every level.
No, I saw that. And Kelly, have you seen that? Because I saw the email black that came from Outform on that. And I, it's funny you say that, Chris, because when we started the conversation, you said, listen, sometimes some of these things, and we referenced the SARS outbreak, and then we're into the COVID, outbreak, that innovation happens in times where we really test our culture and our commerce and our way of life. We really, truly innovate. When I saw that email come out and I saw that email blast and had the video behind it where the people were stepping up to the thermal scanner, it opened the door or didn't. And then I immediately thought why don't we check people in this way? Right? Yeah. Why doesn't you just walk in, it scans you, it checks you in, it says you have an appointment, or you can book an appointment. So I feel like it starts to, now I'm the guy that the door's never going to open for. I thought myself, I was talking to my wife, I was showing her, I was like, I'll just scan, I'll not wait, I'll plant face, I'll do a Tommy boy right into the back of the taxi cab window, and that'll be the end of that. But do you feel like some of this stuff you're working on is not just going to be for today? It's going to be, you already anticipate that the innovation you're putting out there is going to find other purposes, and we're just going to change the way, even when we don't have to check temperature, the display is going to do something else.
That is absolutely correct. And again, that's one of those things where whenever we're developing any new products, we look at the longevity of it and make sure that we build in the opportunity to evolve the product as well. So you're absolutely right. I think that as we move forward, even if you look at behaviors in Asia versus behaviors here. In Asia, again, the SARS epidemic happened there. Really, it had a lot of impact. And the whole temperature scanning thing has been something that's been accepted there. This wearing of masks has been accepted there. I feel that as we move forward, again, we don't know how long we're going to have COVID with us. I've heard everything from 6 months to 6 years. We don't know, but we need to make sure that everything that we're developing is adaptable and evolvable, but also we know that customer behaviors are going to change and remain changed as we move forward. Again, the adoption of buy online, pick up in store by groups who historically have not wanted to do that has been tremendous. And we're going to see the same thing with a number of any of the innovations that we're looking at implementing now.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we let him go, Kelly, anything you got to ask? I want to ask Chris before we bring him back, but you did say something at the end. Do you know, I'm a little embarrassed, Kelly, that I didn't know the acronym. I had seen it in print for the first time today, BOPUS.
Yeah,
I am truly embarrassed that
as a toddler mom, I can totally attest to it. I mean, it was a great thing before all of this went down, and now it's an amazing thing afterwards. I think it, obviously it saves time, but I do think it's part of the whole experience. So it's, how do you then take the outside back to the inside now? There's definitely a lot of opportunity there. So yeah.
It's a training that has happened, to your point. What we're doing to train our people, and Chris, I'm going to let you go because I want to bring JFF in, but hold on a second. Join us at the end because I want to touch on this mobile piece one more time, all right? Because I do think at the end of the day, I want to, no wild cards, no surprise questions. I won't let you expose anything, but I do want to understand a little bit more how I'm going to be able to use my phone more effectively while I shop. Is that going to be a thing that is here to stay, and what your thoughts are? So Noodle, with that, I'm going to bring you back on the end. Chris, Outform is lucky to have you, and I anticipate you're going to do some great things. And thank you so much for jumping on our show and having some fun with us. And we'll see you in a little bit, okay?
Great.
Thanks, bud. All right.
That was
quick
awesome.
question, Kelly. I'm just going to have a quick question back to our green room here. Are we bringing Sean back, John, or not?
Yeah, I think we got some connectivity issues for Sean, so we might have to save his part for next time. I know we've got some good stuff to come there, but a lot of this
unacceptable. Christmas is canceled this year, Kelly. Christmas is canceled as a penalty. That is okay, because you know who's up next, don't you?
I know, our famous JFF. I'm so excited to have her on board.
She's fun, and I have not told her how great the hair looks with the cut hair now. I haven't had a chance to tell her that. So I think it looks fantastic. Tell us a little bit about who JFF is before we bring her out, Kelly, and we're going to shoot her out here.
Well, Jennifer Fisher Finnegan is, almost synonymous with BDS marketing. We all love her. She has the longest name at BDS, so we mock up all of our business cards with her name on it. Just a little fun fact.
Funny.
She's our VP of Client Services at BDS, and she oversees the break fix team, which is really on the other side of the display conversation. So once we build these amazing displays, how do you get them into the store? So we love her leadership, her guidance. She really tries to ensure overall success for clients and for every project. So
I think that from a consumer standpoint, people forget. Everyone on this call, on this live stream knows exactly what JFF does. But from a consumer standpoint, I don't think you realize when you shift, like when Chris comes up with this great design, when Chris comes up with this forward-thinking technology, here enters JFF and her team and goes, well, crap, when it breaks, how do we fix it?
Yeah.
For this specialized install, how does it go in? Chris gets to leave with his cool design and just go, there you go, world, mic drop. And JFF behind the scenes has to now figure out how to manage this damn thing.
Yeah.
So let's bring her in here and get her insight. Welcome, Miss JFF.
So excited.
Hello.
Hi, Jennifer. Great to see you. And I was commenting, I love the new haircut.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Andrew.
That is a COVID cut, right? We did it at home.
It's the COVID cut, actually. It is, yes.
Fantastic. Much better than would have happened with me. I will show you a picture maybe on the next live stream of where I attempted to do my son's haircut. Came a little bit looked a little like Mr. Christmas from Dumb and Dumber at the end of that haircut, and it was trouble.
I'm pretty sure I did the same thing to my own child, so
yeah.
Awful. JFF,
I'm not a hairstylist.
welcome, and so good to see you, and thank you for having here. Let's buzz right into it. What has your team been seeing on the ground? Are they noticing consumer behaviors changing? And if so, how? Talk to us.
As Chris mentioned, there's been an uptick recently in sales, but really we saw during the whole pandemic that there was an uptick on online sales and the curbside pickup, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting though is that over the last few weeks, as cities, counties, states have opened up, retailers have seen that traffic pick up as well. And even some retailers are posting and reporting that they're seeing the same foot traffic in store that they were seeing pre-COVID conditions, which is pretty impressive, right? And I know, can you believe it? And I actually was at a store on Sunday where I experienced it myself. It was pretty insane. The traffic was, obviously there's some precautionary measures that consumers are taking, differently than they were, say, 3-4 months ago. But for the most part, that store traffic is back up to where it was, which is pretty amazing. I think the biggest thing is consumers are really, they want to make sure that they're feeling that the stores are sanitizing and clean as they're having that experience.
Yeah.
And often that also means that on the flip side, they're not really talking to those store associates, those sales associates that really help with the sale.
Mm-hmm.
So more than ever, it's very important that the displays are present and functional. And as Chris was mentioning, figuring out that way to have that contactless, really interaction is going to be the most important thing for really brands and fabricators to figure out over the next month.
Yeah.
And that's so interesting you say that, because it just, the light bulb went off in my head. It's when I had to go to a major home improvement warehouse last week, and the apprehension where I would normally just walk right up to somebody and say, hey, where's this? Right? It's like, all right, am I ready to do that yet? Maybe I'll just try to find it myself. And when I get there, I'll figure it out. So, God, that is, a light bulb just went off. It says, man, it's going to take me a minute to get back to that, which makes the displays and that it's more important than ever from a functional standpoint and a content standpoint. So very interesting. Training. So we know from a standpoint of being able to be face-to-face and the typical ways which we used to train, and we know that events are being canceled and some face-to-faces. We even know we had our leadership meeting just the other day, and some of us could come, some of us couldn't come, and we had to make those tough decisions. How are you dealing with training now with your associates, and what change have you had to make, and how are you adapting to training in this new normal?
Yeah, I mean, we have over 800 highly technical trained field reps out there. We've always had a component that was virtual and digital, to be honest. However, as you mentioned, that in-person training, it's hard to replace, right? It's that on-the-job, reps and managers are able to work to take them through the display, the functionality process, in-store check-in, all those important aspects of the job. So we really kind of put a specific, focus on changing our training tactics over the last month or two. And we've really put in heightened visibility to the need that we need to have them be more virtual and digital, and as well as use an AR and AI experience type model to make sure that those reps are still able to get that on-the-job training. It's just going to be in a virtual environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I would say, I know you personally, JFF, so I'm sure you are one of the better communicators I have come across in my experience. So I'm sure either in person or on digital, you will get the point across. Yeah. I know that.
It's interesting. Before we jump forward, we did get an audience question that I do want to bring back to, which is, and it goes along the lines of this in-person concept and, in-person versus, the interactivity and sort of this contactless version. So the question was, will interactive displays ever truly replace personal customer service? And, going back to the associate experience, I think I want to put that question out there. I think it's very relevant for this conversation.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't think it's ever going to truly replace it.
Mm-hmm.
People, as Andrew, you mentioned, individuals want that human contact, right? When you have it, it just makes the experience even better. However, as we're going through this, and looking at the new normal, which unfortunately no one really knows what that new normal is going to be, I think we're going to see a shift in the amount of store associates out there, the sales associates, just based on budgets and brands and companies they're going to be a little bit more budget conscious, right? Now that we've experienced this. So I don't see that it's going to necessarily replace that customer or that one-on-one interaction with a human being. But I think it's imperative that if you have an interactive display out there, that it's functioning and it's present and it's delivering the message that you want to each of those consumers that come in contact with it.
Yeah, and it might even change the way that, the role that the in-person experience plays as part of the entire conversation and entire experience, right? Maybe the role just shifts into something different too. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
It's an interesting point though, Kelly, and I hope I don't get this wrong, but I read something or saw something the other day and I thought it was so impactful. They said that artificial intelligence or robotics, they can simulate emotion. They cannot create emotion.
Crazy.
So I was like, that was okay. Like that went off for me of just saying it, that I thought was a very interesting way to say it, that it just can't be a replacement because as humans, we can create emotions.
Yeah.
Robotics can only simulate them. So, and again, when you're looking for authentic, engaging experiences, honest, engaging experiences, I don't know how you get that out of something. Now, could it support 100%? Could it help expand on? Sure, 100%. Can it replace? I think absolutely not, and I think that would be too far of a stretch, as JFF has obviously told us as well. So, the display life cycle. I've got a question here from the panel, which says, with the displays becoming even more complex than they are even now, do you envision changing how the team approaches the display lifecycle?
I don't know if we're going to change the approach. I just think it's going to shift a little bit. And there actually might be another component we add to that life cycle process. Right now, BDS, we focus on really the survey, the installation, updating, break fix, deinstallation, and even the e-cycle, part of it. We've already had a lot of consultative conversations. So I feel like that should be added to the process, like, pre-survey, because we're having a lot of those conversations now about how are we going to make these displays comfortable for the consumer to be able to interact. And I know that Chris already kind of hit on a lot of this, but it's going to be that that contactless, option that they need to create, whether it's through a button that now is motion censored, or if it's, something else. We need to make sure that we're working with those brands and getting that solution out there as soon as possible, really.
Yeah.
So I promised all my guests I don't go off script, but you've said something and I have to ask. So I don't want to put you on. So I said, I even told these guys, I said, I promise I won't go off, but so they can be prepared. Do you get time with designers like Chris? I mean, do you get time so you can help them engineer displays in a way that will be easier to repair? Or like, are you ahead of the curve or working with display manufacturers? So, and I know admittedly, I'm on the marketing side of the business, as Kelly and I are. We understand the concepts, all that BDS does, but as a big company as we are, we're not intimately aware, obviously, of your day-to-day. So it's interesting to me as you adapt to this kind of stuff. Are those the relationships you make so you could say, hey guys, if you did it this way, we could fix it differently, or we could ship a different part, or we could do something? Are you part of that engineering process?
We absolutely are. I mean, we've become really, I want to say, the expert when it comes to break fix in the industry. And with that, it's based on our experience. I mean, we are the category manager for one of the largest retailers in the US. We're in all those stores on a weekly basis, and we hit it's about on average 80 to 90 displays per store. So on top of that, with our other work, we hit close to 200,000 displays a week, which is crazy, right? Now, this is obviously pre-COVID. We've had some changes now just recently as we're getting back into retail. We'll get back up to that number very quickly. But because of that experience and our highly trained team and our integrated support team that we have, the brands that we work with and fabricators have really relied on us for some of that expert knowledge. We work with a lot of brands and a lot of display manufacturers that are very innovative, and they already have that information. But a lot of times they'll bring us in because we're able to just say, hey, if you tweak something here, it's going to save you on some break fix work, because you're not going to need two people to move that display off the shelf. Instead, it's going to be one, right. And that's a lot more cost effective.
Yeah,
that's right.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. That to me, that makes sense, because I was thinking from a standpoint, because as I live in the world of digital, right, we have design and development. We're consistently talking to our developers of this would look cool, but can we build it? And what's going to be the cost of building it? Yeah. And sometimes we leave them with this design they can't even build. And if the two had talked, so you're on it, you don't need me. Anyway.
I appreciate it.
I'm sure also, Jen, it makes it a lot easier to provide that that feedback, even if you're going in and doing an audit on that display and things like that you can do to get that feedback to the display manufacturer, right? And in terms of the design, what works, what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Quick question too, again off script, JFF, and I may know the answer to this, so I don't want to share too much about what we're doing as a company either. But there's got to be we've got to be working on ways in which we can communicate with that display to understand from a break fix perspective whether it's working or it's not. I mean, if we're rebuilding these things with all these new technology and all this new hardware, there's obviously, I can see you smiling, so maybe you can't give me the answer that we're working on, but I could. If you want to know the answer, maybe you contact JFF at BDS.
It is in the works, Andrew. It is in the works. Yep.
Okay, good. Again, you don't need me. I'm useless doing this live streaming thing. All right, last thing. A new display, as we know, and I think Chris can probably help us with this when he joins back too, but I'd like to hear your response. They take time. Right? That's great. As innovative as we can be, as forward-thinking as we can be, we need time. We need time to design it. We need time to source materials. We need time to fabricate it. We need time to get it. What can we do to adapt today? I mean, what's the answer today until I can, do all of it?
Yeah. And the other thing you're missing is the cost. The cost effect that is affected with a completely different design of a display. So as I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, I think the brands and the fabricators are going to have to be a little bit more creative. We are going to see, like I said, a little bit of an uptick, I think, in that merchandising compliance piece in the next month or two, because brands are going to be scrambling to really try to get it so their display, whether it's a firmware update to make it so it's motionless, automation, or if it's just updating some POP, or it's maybe even deactivating the button for a few months until they're come up with another solution. I mean, some of the brands we're working with, they're actually just creating POP to put over the interactive piece for a temporary solution. So there's a various amount of ways that we can help. As Chris mentioned, the antimicrobial piece is huge as well. We're talking to brands that they may just put a shield over a display, and it's something that we go in and replace every 30 to 60 days. But it really comes back to making sure that the consumer feels comfortable in the retail environment, and we want to make sure that our reps are fully trained and have a good understanding of everything that they need to do prior to going into the stores as well to ensure their health and safety too.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Before we move on, we do have a question from the audience again. So this does go back to associate training and customer engagement. So how does this new normal, affect your store associate training and customer engagement offering? I know we touched on that a little bit earlier with how we're training, but I know for associates and then engaging with customers, I know we're planning to talk about that that could be its own episode, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Can I add something to that, Kelly, as well? Are we training our store associates to interact with our customers differently, like stay 6 feet away from them or do different things? Like when you have the customer engagement piece of it, from not only from a break fix standpoint of like dealing with the district managers or dealing with the store managers, or is there some sort of spatial sensitivity training that we're also giving to our field people?
Yep, and that's all incorporated into the training that we're providing them. Yeah, because we want to make sure that they are going in with just all the knowledge that they possibly need to have, but also being courteous and cautious. We are a guest in these retail locations, and we want to make sure that we're not just making sure that our reps are safe, but also the employees at that retail location are safe too.
Takes total sense. Tell you what, can we go 4 up right now and bring Chris back in here? Because I do want to ask Chris some questions, and I want to bring him back in here because, and JFF, can you stay with us? You got a little more time?
I guess for you, Andrew, I do. And Kelly.
Morning. Just kidding.
That's
awesome.
Chris.
Kelly. No, I'm just kidding.
Welcome back, Chris. How are you? Chris, we've been talking a little bit about here, and I want to regroup. We go back to a question real quick because I think you can help us answer it as well. I ended the segment one question earlier with JFF that talked about because the displays take a little while to get manufactured, because the design, because the fabrication, there's some different things that have to happen in order to get them inside the retailer, as we know, and there's a life cycle to that. Is there anything you can recommend now that can bridge that gap between that time to market and allowing a retailer or a brand to get a little bit ahead of this?
Chris might be having some connectivity issues as well.
Yeah.
Might be a little delayed.
Frozen there. Yeah. All right. Well, that's the beauty of being live. And we'll see if we can't get Chris back in a second. Boy, Kelly, we've had like 3 of these episodes already. This is the first. Is it the 13th? Is it Friday the 13th or something?
No.
It is the 13th, isn't it?
First
oh, no,
of
it's
all.
17th. I'm losing days.
I know.
All right.
You just never know with internet.
We never know. As we try to get Chris situated there, JFF, I do want to, one of my big closing topics was back to the mobile phone and mobile device. And John, as soon as you get Chris situated, if he can, let's just go ahead and bring him back in. And I can see John can see me. John, great guy, by the way, behind the scenes. And then we've got Rachel behind the scenes as well. Shout out to Rachel. I don't think Rachel has left that apartment, though. Every time I see her, same look, same spot, and I think the alcohol gets a little lower in the back.
Yeah, always got
the bottles, the levels are just, it's a sliding scale of emotion. I can test it by the bar in the back. So let's talk a little bit about the mobile device, if you don't mind, JFF. Can you give me any insight to how you feel that the mobile device will continue or start to take a different look and feel from the consumer journey at retail. We all know the mobile apps. I'm born of digital, so I've been around mobile apps since mobile apps started to get developed, right? I've been ordering my smoothies off the mobile app. I've been doing my Uber Eats before COVID, right? Probably a little bit too much, but yeah, it is what it is. My mother still loves me. What will the cell phone in this new normal look like, do you think? Do you think it's going to take on a different beast? And what's your thoughts?
I think, as Chris mentioned earlier, the QR codes, I think are going to come back. I think they're going to be, I think the brands are going to be more dependent on them more than ever now, just because of the amount of sales associates and the really kind of the change within the interactive displays for the next few months. I think that, there's options, right? We could have a QR code on a display that actually takes them to a Bright shop, right?
Yeah.
And you never know, like you can use that option for not just information, but also being an additional sales kind of tactic for that brand and for that display.
Oh, I think I see Chris back there. Chris, can you hear us?
Almost.
Almost.
We almost got there.
So close. I do think as Chris gets situated.
Am I frozen?
There he is.
Chris, what are you doing there? Paying your Time Warner bill? What's happening?
Or maybe it hasn't.
I see the hand on the mouse. Maybe he's paying the Time Warner. So I think at the end of the day, when we look at how the extension of the mobile device is going to impact in store, I mean, if you want to think about contactless, if you want to think about contactless pay options, contactless shopping options, contactless endless aisles, information. I mean, we have it, right? So I would have, if we had gotten Chris to be able to give us an understanding of how maybe those are going to be integrated. But my question, and maybe we could pose this, or Chris can help us post an article after the fact, because I just want to know, is Outform or JFF, do you have an opinion of our display manufacturers consciously integrating those right now? Are they thinking about throwing information when you walk into a store into a phone? That you could throw a phone information back to the display for it to order for. I don't know. Have you heard anything like that, or am I too far down the road? Am I into 2030 already?
I don't think that any idea is out the window at this point, right? When it comes to retail and displays, to be honest, and getting that information into a consumer's hand. We know research is really a big hot topic, right? They want to know what is going through those consumers' minds. So I would say everything you mentioned, I don't think any of it is an idea that is too crazy not to even start thinking about or talking about, because I'm sure those conversations are already being had.
I derail us a little bit here, but when I remember when I went to I think it was Disney World, right? So then I was out. It was years ago. So, but
think it was Disney World, do you?
Yeah, well, no, it was. I think I was going out with my nephew, and I went to, maybe it was Pleasure Island or something, and they had a hologram, and a guy was standing there, and he was talking to you on the hologram, and I thought, as the years went on, I don't think we're that far from walking in, and then we're picking our hologram in order to go on our phone and take us around the store. How can I help you today? Now, again, we've talked about artificial intelligence or how we can't replicate that human emotion, but I have a feeling we are moving into a world of AI and contactless, and with the mobile phone and different things at our disposal. This is just tip of the iceberg stuff, and I think that we are just starting this journey, and it's going to be an exciting one. So, but JFF, good luck fixing all the technology that is creative. Good luck.
We're going to need your team's expertise. That's for sure.
Well, and that's a funny thing too, because what we had said was, what is the one thing, if I want a different career, Kelly, let me tell you something. You want the $1 million idea? JFF, how hard is it to find the techs in order to do it, right? You can never replace that, right? So you want to talk about a labor pool or an industry that's going to people who want to get in there and fix those displays and have the technical ability to do that. Whoo! Now you want to talk about a market that's going to blow up. Good luck, HR.
It's very exciting, though. I think we could
Yeah.
geek out all day about this, right? Very exciting
Absolutely.
stuff.
JFF, thank you so much for your time. You're absolutely a pleasant person to be around, a fantastic guest, and I wish you and your family nothing but health and safety, all right?
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I know we had some technical difficulties with a couple of our guests today. That darn internet, right?
I see Chris back down there, though. Is Chris back online? Can I ask him the mobile
He
question
is.
before we go?
Yeah.
He is there. John, bring him back in.
Yeah, I know. He jumped out.
Oh, I
and then
see him
jumped back
moving.
in.
He's got that Time Warner bill paid. He upped the megabits per second. There he is. All right.
I'm very excited.
I am back. Sorry.
Chris, do you have children? Are they just streaming Elmo's World? What's happening over there?
I got a 16-year-old son who might be on his gaming PC right now. I'm not sure. So,
Oh, well, Chris, I am so glad. Right at the end, we were just about to close it, but I think that it's worth the question to ask. I think you could at least hear us talking about the extension of the mobile device, but I got two questions as we wrap up. Not thankfully, that Sean couldn't make it. That's a miss. I love that guy. He always level sets, but that gives us a little more time with you, Chris, so I love it.
yes. Great.
Two questions, take them in whatever order. Number one, how, knowing there is a time to market to get the new displays into retail and in front of consumers on behalf of brands, design, manufacturing, money, logistics, shipping, installation, how can brands and retailers get ahead of the curve? What can they do today while they wait for all these great new Outform innovative displays that are coming to a store near them?
I think a lot of retailers are already taking good steps towards that. Again, limiting access into the store, limiting the number of folks in the store at any given time. But again, cleaning is the most simple thing. Back at Best Buy, we always said if you can lean, you can clean. And honestly, that is the key. Just making sure the displays are clean and functional. The other thing that we're doing a lot of looking into right now is the use of UV light as a sterilization method.
Seen that a
The nice
lot.
thing is there's been some pretty amazing advances really rapidly with creating a far safer version of UVC light, which is actually what's been proven. That's the wavelength that they've proven is the most effective at killing the COVID virus. But unfortunately, UVC is also extremely harmful to humans. It's very harmful to your eyes and to your skin. But they've actually just done a lot of innovation and recreation of a safe UV light system, which could easily be used to actually sterilize the store on a very rapid basis.
Yeah, I'm going to check that science because last time I checked, now I have ADD and opposites attract. So my wife is OCD, exact opposite. She is the most effective thing at cleaning the COVID device. I will tell virus. I will tell you that right now. She's on top of it. She'll take care of it. We should send her in. These stores will be fantastic.
Have a lot of jobs right now, so that's great.
But that's a great tip from a guy who is probably as innovative as they come. Just clean and get on top of it, right? So that's crazy. Great answer. I did not expect that one, but a great answer. Talk to me about cell phones. Talk to me about mobile devices. And we know the world of apps. We all have them, DoorDash and this and that. And we were getting addicted to them. I've limited a little bit because now we're going to web-based technologies, which maybe apps weren't so important because as websites become more responsive and user-friendly. But as far as a mobile app is concerned, from a customer retail perspective, tell me a little bit of how you see that device being utilized even more than it is today, and what do you think's on the forefront? What can we expect?
Well, like I was mentioning, the use of the QR codes is really the tip of the iceberg as far as what we can actually do with our phones. I'm a huge advocate for the idea of taking over control of displays through the use of your own device. But the other thing that we haven't even really scratched the surface on too much yet is the use of augmented reality. AR will allow us to actually add in an additional layer of experience in the store that really starts to bridge the gap between online and brick and mortar experiences. The whole AR piece of it, I think, everybody knew what Pokemon Go was. You chase around little Pokemons.
Oh, yeah.
You map them into reality. We need to start leveraging that in the store environments as well to start to actually tailor some of our offerings specifically to the customers. Like we were talking about AI before, to actually identify and get to know our shoppers a little bit more. you can use that AI learning to actually start to tailor offers to the shopper on their own phone in the store, actually increasing the utilization of the store app, but also creating that virtual experience where somebody walks into a store, holds up their phone, and items pop out, gives you a map to where you're going in the store. It gives you tailored offers based off of your purchase behavior in the past and like where you are in the reward system. So I think there's a ton of really exciting things coming in the very near future with regards to how we can better integrate the mobile device into the overarching shopping journey.
When you need a VR personality for Outform for your next device, do you think I could get it? I mean, what do you,
got
do
it,
you think
man.
this will work?
We already have a meme from our last live episode, so we'll just throw that right in.
As long as you keep the hat on, man, I think it's fine.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Kelly, you had something.
I love that you brought the AR element up, because that will ultimately probably bring that surprise and that delight moment back to retail again, that I think a lot of us, even as consumers, are probably feeling like we're missing right now. And that again goes back to, how do we humanize the experience again? How do we make it exciting? How do we make the aisle exciting again, even if we have to keep things clean and keep it going, right? How do you still make it new and fresh and fun for the consumers?
Well, and the really fun thing when you start to think about it in those terms, and I agree 100%, it becomes an entirely new avenue for in-store experiences.
Yeah.
Tailor it towards the Gen Z folks. I mean, they already represent over $140 billion worth of potential spend for retail. But they also the ones who are native to that environment. So if we can actually start to integrate some of that technology and those experiences that they've been on the forefront of adopting for a number of years, then I think we have a real winner.
100%. Chris, pleasure to have on. And I know, and I want to tell all of our guests, Chris jumped in here. He's just getting his feet wet with Outform. Not even a hesitation. He said, I will help. I will join you and be part of this conversation. And I am so glad you did, sir. You are a welcome guest and a wealth of knowledge. So thank you. I wish you the most success at your brand. And I look forward to see some exciting things out of Outform.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we have just a few minutes left. We're running out of time. So any final questions, if you want to throw them in there, we'll get to them. We can answer them over our emails. Happy to even chat in person, bring that personal element back a little bit. But yeah, really exciting stuff. I think amazing conversation.
Well, I think those guys, Kelly, I love talking about this stuff, and I love getting out of the wheelhouse a little bit. And we get the ability to sit here and just moderate it. But these guys live, breathe, eat it every day. They're the subject matter experts. And, I've known JFF for a while. She's a rock star at what she does. Chris sounds amazing. I love the Outform brand. You want to talk about two people and two innovators and two brands that really know what's happening. This was the place to see it. So this is what the Hype Hour is all about. Yeah. And we're glad that everyone could be here. We are out of time, Miss Campbell. You want to say anything about the next episode? Are we teeing anything up for the next episode, or are we leaving that alone for right now?
No, just stay tuned for the next one. Keep signing up. Get your friends, your family, your coworkers. We'd love to have more on here. So send them the link. We're planning our next one as we speak. So if there is something that you do want to learn more about in a Hype Hour, feel free to send us a note at bdsmarketing.com. We'd love to hear from you. Even ping us on social. Always looking for great ideas. So yeah, that's it. It
has been my absolute pleasure to be your host for today. We loved having you here at the Hype Hour. And remember, everybody, spread hummus, not hate.
Love hummus.
Love hummus.
All right.